Okay, hello and welcome back. We are winding down. We just have about 3 modules left. So welcome back to the Outdoor Soccer Officials Training. We'll be going over advantage versus disadvantage calls, slide tackling, as well as what kind of card that constitutes and how to administer cards as well. So advantage versus disadvantage. So advantage is a discretionary call. So it typically happens if a foul is committed and the offended team, so the player who just got fouled, maintains the ball and maintains an advantage against the defense, that we will allow play to continue. And to do that, you will put your hands out and say play or say advantage, and then you'll give a few seconds for the play to develop. If the ball gets turned back to the other team or nothing significant develops, so no chance on goal, then we'll give that few seconds, and then we'll call the foul and we'll bring the play back, and we'll give whatever, if it's a direct kick or a free kick or an indirect kick at that point, we'll go ahead and do that. But if the team maintains possession, we want to make sure that we give them the chance to go ahead and have that advantage and not give any benefit to the defense for fouling. That should make sense, but we'll look at some calls as well. We have a good one that shows where an advantage should have been called, so hopefully you can understand what we mean by that. So slide tackling. So in our game, there's absolutely no slide tackling. We went over a little bit of the goalkeeper and their diving and sliding abilities beforehand, and they are basically the only player that can voluntarily go to the ground, and they can only do that as long as they're not endangering or putting other people on the play in their way. So they can only dive or slide if there's not a player around them. Other than that, nobody else is allowed to slide. So here's a breakdown of the rules. Anybody that does do a slide tackle or a goalie that endangers opponents will be given a card. So if a player slides from the front or side, so basically if they're in the vision of the ball handler, then you'll have to stop the play or give advantage, but they will be given an automatic yellow card for that. And a good reminder is 2 yellow cards will be a red card. So that is just if there's absolutely no contact and they slide from the front or side. If a player slides from the front or side and makes contact, then it'll be an immediate red card and they'll have to be ejected from the game. And remember, you need to get a supervisor and have them escorted from the facility at that point. So any contact at all will be an automatic red card. And another scenario that would be an automatic red card is if a player slides from behind the ball handler, so outside of the field of vision of the person who is in control of the ball. Even if they slide and don't make any contact, if they make that movement, we're still going to stop the play, maybe give advantage, but in the end, stop the play and give that person a red card and they'll be ejected. And yeah, there you see the goalkeeper has the same restrictions when diving. So what you're going to need to be able to differentiate when you're out at the field and officiating is slide tackling versus tripping. So slide tackling involves a player going to the ground intentionally or voluntarily trying to slide in, and we'll see some videos of that. It doesn't necessarily have to involve contact to give a card, but we're going to automatically give cards anytime somebody tries a slide tackle. However, if somebody is trying to play the ball and accidentally trips somebody, even if they unintentionally go to the ground, if it's deemed unintentional, then it won't necessarily be a card at that point. It can be a card if it was dangerous and you deem it not necessarily an athletic sport move. So it will need to involve contact in order to give a card or just a regular foul. But if they do not intentionally go to the ground, then it may be tripping. Again, that is up to your discretion, and hopefully these next few videos give you an idea of what that may look like. So this first video, so that is a goalkeeper who comes out, and I believe you'll see our referee step in right here. And he is giving an automatic red card. I believe that this player had been warned multiple times for sliding and putting people in danger, but in this one, he clearly makes contacts, brings one player to the ground and almost trips another player to the ground as well. So automatic red card. You see no argument because he has been warned. They should know that they can't do that regardless if they're a goalkeeper or not. Here we see another example. So green player there, even though they go in and slide and they don't necessarily make contact, because of an attempted slide tackle, that'll be a yellow card, and you'll see our referee administer that there. What the official didn't do well is there should have been an advantage given on this play. We'll play it again. So the foul occurs right there, but yellow maintains possession and is going on to a breakaway. So they should be given that advantage and be given a chance to go ahead and score that goal. So we mess up a little bit there, but we're good on getting that card, and we always want to see that. A good note here is even if you play advantage, so if he did allow that play to go on, you need to keep track and remember the number of the player in green that committed the foul so you can go back and give a card at that point. You can watch that one more time. So definitely a yellow on green. Should have put his hands up and called advantage and allowed that team to play that fast break. This is no question. This should be a red in any form of soccer, and ours especially. He's putting somebody in danger. It's a clear goal scoring opportunity. He slides from the back and makes contact. Extremely dangerous play. This player needs to be ejected and given a red card immediately and sent off the field. So again, grab your supervisor. And this has no place in the game whatsoever. Extremely dirty and bad play. And there's no place for it in our sport. Here we'll see one last one. So this one is a bit of a tricky call. Happens right here. So I think that undoubtedly there needs to be some whistle put on this. You can see the green team pretty upset here that there wasn't a whistle put on it, and I think rightfully so. One way or another, I believe that yellow and green both should be given at least a yellow. However, they both make contact, so that could be a double red card in this scenario. At the very least, though, there's at least a foul, has to be a whistle put on that, and we would need to go from a free kick. There's no way that goal should have been scored. When you start to miss calls like this, that's when games start to get out of hand and you'll start to feel a lot of pressure. So we want to avoid that at all times. Anytime you see somebody voluntarily going to the ground, you're going to need to put a card on that and potentially a whistle as long as there's not advantage. And here, we'll get into administering cards as well. You got to see a yellow and a red throughout those videos. But either way, there's a certain way that we want to administer these cards. So make sure that the player that is receiving cards know that he or she is booked. And you need to also make sure that you're taking note of who got the yellow card as well, so that if they get an additional yellow card, they'll need to be ejected at that point. 2 yellows equals a red. Either team may sub during this period as well. It'll be a stoppage in play, and the restart will need to come on your whistle. So feel free to stop the game, take the time to get everything right, take all the notes, get everybody's number, and make sure everybody knows what happened, including your other official that's with you. A red card, here we go, big capital letters, get a supervisor. Players rejected, they'll need to leave the field, and the team may replace that ejected player. So it's not like in other forms of soccer where there'll be a man down or a woman down at that point. They'll be ejected. And then notify a supervisor, have them take care of it, and then you can go ahead and restart your whistle. I think we have one video to see a card administered. So there's a couple things going on. What we'll see is an initial. So we'll see the initial foul of the player in yellow pushes a female, and then he goes ahead, or a pusher in green goes and pushes a female, and then yellow goes and retaliates and pushes him 2 hands on the chest. Pretty physical, violent act, and so that'll be a red card. There's no place for that in our game either, so we'll need to get rid of that. However, this is another case where the game may have been getting a little bit out of hand. Calls earlier in the game may have prevented the initial push, so try and get on top of it. But the official does a good job of making sure that everybody knows what's going on and giving the correct card and just trying to deflate the situation. I think after you give a card, you don't need to hold it up into somebody's face and kind of act powerful. Give the card, make sure they know what's going on, eject that player, let a supervisor know, and we're trying to get on with the game. We don't need to spend a ton of time showing our power to somebody. I think that just escalates situations. So try and be smart about that. If you get on top of stuff early, the better. And that way we don't have situations getting out of hand, such as this one. kind of did and could have gotten worse as well. Could we have not put a card on that? So pretty good job by our official, especially when you see something, you have to call it. So go ahead, take the quiz on this one. Should be pretty short, and we'll get into another module here shortly.